Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Together We Shine. The bhavana for tonight's practice is self-effort and surrender. So, playing with the very delicate balance between those two things in light of Sutra 112, which begins the conversation around what are commonly referred to, or maybe not so commonly, but occasionally referred to as the two wings of a bird. Most birds require two wings to be able to fly. Similarly, our practice requires both of these wings to be equally strong and effective in order for us to have the most beneficial engagement with our spiritual path. Those two wings are abhyasa and vairagya. The essential translation of abhyasa is the ardent effort to maintain a peaceful, inwardly flowing mind. So a stream of awareness that is flowing inwardly as peacefully as possible, and whatever effort we need to make in order to maintain that inward flow. So that, in essence, is everything that we're doing in terms of practice, all the way from studying the yamas and the niyamas and the other sutras and related texts to asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and then eventually samadhi, and then maintaining samadhi for longer and longer periods of time with minimal interruption. Abhyasa. That one gets a lot of screen time, if you will. A lot of emphasis is placed on the practice portion of our spiritual path. The other wing, which is of equal importance, is vairagya. And vairagya can be understood as a twofold experience, if you will. There is the process of vairagya and the state of vairagya. And vairagya more or less translates to non-attachment. There is the practice or the process of detaching from our illusions, our self-identity, whatever it may be. And then there is the state of vairagya in which we are completely unattached to our illusions and self-identity. Other ways to look at that are self-effort and trustful surrender. Self-effort being the abhyasa portion, bringing ourselves into the experience of practice just enough to be fully tuned in and allow for this peacefully, inwardly flowing mind. If there is too much effort, then often it's no longer peaceful and it's no longer inwardly flowing. When we're pushing too much, we create disturbances or distractions, and we often externalize our awareness in the process. And then I love the correlation of trustful surrender with vairagya, because it gives this connotation that we are every day, as much as possible, just giving ourselves a little bit more into the bigger picture, into the service of the divine, and into greater identification with and as an expression of the divine. So that's what we're going to play with a little bit here. Typically, we think of abhyasa and vairagya in the terms of meditation and contemplation, which most of us have been doing a lot of lately. But we can also bring those ideas into the way that we engage with asana. Playing with effortless effort, bringing ourselves to a point of full engagement, but maintaining this peaceful, inwardly flowing mind throughout the entirety of the practice. So, without any further ado, let's start with a little bit of breath training in Makarasana, and then we will dive in. Still have the chair in the way. We're getting there. Okay. So give yourself the opportunity to stretch into it a little bit. Create some space in the abdomen and in the ribs. Maybe take a couple of exaggerated breaths here. And then find your more relaxed and effortless expression of the pose. And fairly immediately, here in Makarasana, begin to cultivate the balance between self-effort and surrender. And you can experience that continuous oscillation between the two with the breath. Inhale requires a little bit of self-effort. And exhale is a really delicious experience of surrender. Tune into that and cultivate as balanced an oscillation between those two as you can. Notice which of those two you tend to lean a bit more heavily into. Are you more prone to over-efforting or toward surrendering? And keep cultivating equality between those two experiences. We'll stay here a little bit longer, and let's just flip the experience slightly. If normally we experience inhale as effortful and exhale as effortless, let's see if we can explore the opposite. So with your exhale, just draw the navel toward the spine a little bit for a slightly more thorough experience of exhale. And then with inhale, feel the breath rush back into the body and specifically create more expansion in the lower back. Release that experiment and just about 4 or 5 more breaths as effortless on both inhale and exhale as they can be. When you're ready, press up onto the hands and the knees. Give yourself 15 to 20 seconds to just move the body in whatever way you want or need. And then start to move into cow and cat. With the next inhale again, come into cow, drawing the collarbones forward, lifting crown and tail. Exhale, round the spine, draw the hips down and back for child's pose. Inhale, return to the hands and the knees, tuck the toes. Exhale, float the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, lower the knees. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, back to the hands and the knees, tuck the toes. Exhale, down dog. Keep going like that. Inhale, lower the knees. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, hands and knees. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, lower the knees. Exhale, child's pose, and then stay here for a few breaths. So try to draw the hips maybe a little further down and back. Maybe scoop the belly up and in a bit more with each exhale. Reach the arms out in front of you. Create some space through the armpits. And let the chest and the head soften toward the earth. Stay with the breath. On the next inhale, walk the hands over to the left side of the mat. Exhale, begin to open up through the right side body. Draw your right hip a little further back, maybe bend the right elbow, and create some space through the side body, using the breath to create even more expansion. And then inhale to walk the hands back through to the center. Exhale, lengthen out down the middle. Inhale, walk the hands to the right. And exhale, again, opening up, but this time through the left side body, drawing your left hip back, putting a bit of a bend into the left elbow, splaying the left side of the rib cage, using the breath to facilitate even greater expansion. Inhale, walk the hands back through to the center. Exhale, lengthen out down the middle. On the next inhale, rise onto the shins, sweep the arms out to the sides to come up overhead. Lift through the collarbones and sternum. Exhale, sweep the arms behind the back and fold back into a variation of child's pose. Inhale, rise up, sweep the arms alongside the ears, little bit of a back bend. Exhale, sweep the arms behind you and fold in. 2 more times. Inhale, rise, lifting. Exhale, release, fold in. Once more. And then stay in this modified child's pose for 1 more breath. Reach the hands out in front of you. Inhale to the hands and knees. Once again, tuck the toes under. And exhale, find your way back to downward facing dog. Stay in down dog for a few breaths, pedaling the feet if you'd like, or in any other way, just creating a little bit more space and ease. Settle into a sustainable variation of the posture. Think about spreading the fingers and spreading the toes, wrapping the triceps down toward the mat, hugging the forearms toward one another, floating the pelvis a little further up and back away from the ribs, pressing your inner thighs toward the wall behind you. Knees can stay bent. Breathing here, extending through the spine, but also creating a little bit of a hollowing out sensation in the belly. Next inhale, lift the heels, bend the knees, gaze toward the hands. Exhale, step lightly to the top of the mat. In Uttanasana, inhale to lift halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold. Press down through the feet, inhale, rise, reach for the sky. Exhale, release your arms down by your sides. Give yourself a breath here. And let's begin to move through a few salutations. As we do, continue to cultivate that balance between self-effort and surrender. Bring just enough of yourself into the experience and set the rest aside. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale to plank. Inhale, hinge forward. Exhale, lower to the ground. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, release. Inhale to hands and knees. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale back to the hands and the knees, tuck the toes. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, lift the heels, soft knees, gaze toward the hands. Exhale, step to the top of the mat. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise and reach for the sky. Exhale, Tadasana, arms by your sides. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale to plank. Inhale, hinge forward. Exhale, lower. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, release. Inhale, hands and knees. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, back to the hands and the knees, tuck the toes. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, lift the heels, bend the knees, look toward the hands. Exhale, step to the top. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Exhale, arms by your sides. Enjoy another breath or two. Guiding yourself through two more, Surya Namaskara A. Bringing just enough effort to maintain an inwardly, peacefully flowing mind. When you're ready. And that effort pertains both to physical effort and mental concentration, just enough for a peaceful, inwardly flowing mind. What is the role of the breath in maintaining this peaceful, inwardly flowing mind? When you reach Tadasana, remain there for another breath or two. Peaceful, inwardly flowing mind. And surrendering anything that makes that more difficult than it needs to be. With the next inhale, find Utkatasana, chair pose. Exhale, sweep the arms down and back. Again, inhale, sweep the arms forward and up. And exhale, down and back. Our simple little twists here. Inhale, forward and up. Exhale, rotate to the left, sweeping the left arm down and back, hugging the right hip back. Inhale, sweep the left arm forward to come up. Exhale, right arm down and back, hug the left hip back. Inhale, sweep the right arm forward to come up. And exhale again, twisting to the left. Keep going. Once more to each side, smooth and steady. Peaceful, inwardly flowing mind. Inhale, sweep the right arm forward to come up. Exhale, forward fold. Press down through both feet. Feel free to bend the knees. Bring the hands to the backs of the ankles. On an inhale, we're going to lift halfway, lead with the back of the head, and as soon as possible, flatten the back, and then swivel up until you reach about a 90-degree angle. The hands are going to slide up to the backs of the thighs or right underneath the curve of the tush. Breathe here. With the next exhale, fold back down. Inhale and again, lift halfway. Remain for exhale. Inhale here. Exhale, fold back down. 2 more times. Staying for the exhale, try to pull the shoulder blades a little further down and back and minimize the curvature in the lumbar spine. Inhale to create even more extension in the spine. And on exhale, as you fold, sliding the hands down the backs of the legs, scoop the belly up and in, and hug yourself a little closer to your thighs. One more round. And then enjoy a breath or two in a softer variation of this forward fold. Step back to plank on the next exhale. Inhale to rock forward. Exhale, lower to the ground. Inhale, find your cobra. Exhale, lower. Keep the hands underneath the shoulders. Bring your forehead to the mat. Press down through the right foot and leg. And on an inhale, come back into cobra and roll your left inner thigh up toward the ceiling. Exhale, release. Inhale, right inner thigh up, pressing down through the left foot. Pelvis stays steady. Exhale, release. Inhale, cobra. Float your left inner thigh up. Exhale, release. Once more. Inhale, roll the right inner thigh up. Exhale, release. Give yourself a moment. We're going to come into full Shalabhasana. The invitation once again is to engage with an effortless effort. Just enough. And maintain that peaceful, inwardly flowing mind. When you're ready, find your cobra and then float both inner thighs up. If you'd like, you can also float the hands off of the ground. One more inhale, a little more lift. Exhale, release. Bring your right cheek to the mat. Bring your arms alongside your body, palms facing up. Relax the legs and just breathe. Maintaining your peaceful, inwardly flowing mind. Switch to the opposite cheek. Bring the head back through to the center. Activate the legs again and bring the palms under the shoulders. Inhale, lift to the hands and the knees. Exhale, child's pose. Enjoy a full breath in child's pose. And then sit back on your shins, finding a variation of virasana. And again, reconnect with intention to that peaceful, inwardly flowing mind. And surrender everything that makes the maintenance of that mind more difficult than it needs to be. From here, come on to the hands and knees. And then draw your left knee maybe 2 to 3 inches, 5 or 6 centimeters further back than the right knee. So you're coming a little off kilter. Moving dynamically through child's pose, and then we'll maintain it statically for a few breaths. This is meant to be asymmetrical, and it's just going to open up through your hips and sacrum in a unique way. Inhale here. And on exhale, draw back like you're coming into child's pose, but you are off center. Notice the sensations that arise. Inhale, come back up to the hands and the knees. And again, draw back. Continue to move dynamically for 2 or 3 more rounds. And then stay in that asymmetrical child's pose and breathe into the sensation. Allow the sensation to actually heighten the experience of that inwardly flowing mind. And then determine for that inwardly flowing mind to remain peaceful. Continue to surrender all excess effort. Inhale, come back up to the hands and the knees. Bring the knees back to parallel, tuck the toes, exhale to down dog. Remain in a relatively still, but still vibrantly alive downward facing dog for 3 or 4 breaths. Inhale, lower the knees. Exhale back to Virasana, hero pose, sitting on your heels. Abhyasa and vairagya. Inhale back to the hands and the knees. Exhale, slide your right knee a little bit further back. So again, you're asymmetrical. Moving dynamically for a few breaths. Inhale here. Exhale, draw back. Notice if this feels different than the other side. And then keep moving in and out a few times. When you feel as though you've loosened up enough to be able to stay in the posture with increasing effortlessness, do so. Inhale back to the hands and the knees. Come back to symmetry, tuck the toes. Exhale, downward facing dog. Find a down dog that you're happy with. Commit to it for a breath or two. Inhale and walk your hands back to your feet. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, Utkatasana. Exhale, sink a bit more deeply. Inhale, straighten the legs, reach for the sky. Exhale, arms by your sides, Tadasana. Standing toward the back of the mat. I have to adjust mine, it tends to migrate. Step your right foot forward about halfway, setting up for Parsvottanasana, pyramid pose. Square the hips more or less toward the short end of the mat. Stack the palms on the sacrum and try to draw the tailbone and sits bones down a bit, not by clenching the glutes, but instead by lengthening through the lower back and lifting through the hip bones. Inhale, lift a bit more up through the back of the neck and head. And exhale, hinge forward. Inhale, rise back up. Exhale, hinge. And inhale, rise. Two more times. And again with inhale, rise to stand. Stay with the exhale, just relax a bit. Sweep the left arm forward and then glue it to the ear. Inhale, find a little bit more extension in the spine. Exhale, again, hinge forward, but stop about halfway. Stay with the breath, 3 or 4 breaths. Inhale, rise. Exhale, lower all of the way, bringing your left hand to the ground. Inhale, find a little bit more extension in the spine. Try to square the hips. And exhale, fold. Release the right arm as well and soften, staying with the breath. Inhale, prop up onto the fingertips. Lengthen the spine again. Exhale, put a bend into that front knee if there isn't one already. Shift your weight onto your right foot and leg, and then roll your left inner thigh toward the ceiling or toward the sky. Again, try to square the hips. Inhale to lift the spine, lift the back of the head. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift. This time on exhale, bend both knees. And then see if you can rise and find eagle, crossing the left thigh up and over, right arm up and over, and sit into this posture. For 3. Abhyasa and vairagya. Inhale, set the left foot down, sweep the arms up. Exhale, release the arms by your sides, Tadasana. Peaceful. inwardly flowing mind. Surrendering anything that makes that more difficult than it needs to be. Step the left foot forward toward the top of the mat, setting up once again for Parsvottanasana, pyramid pose. Stack the hands on the sacrum, lengthen up through the back body. Take another inhale. Exhale, fold in. So we're moving in and out of this posture dynamically, a total of 4 times. Inhale to rise. And then continue at your own pace, cultivating that balance between effort and release. The next time you're standing upright, remain. Steady the breath and the mind. Then lift the right arm forward to come up, gluing it to the ear. Inhale, find a little bit more lift and length. Exhale, hinge forward halfway, lengthening through the back body, squaring through the pelvis, 3 or 4 breaths. Peaceful, inwardly flowing mind. Surrendering anything that makes that more difficult than it needs to be. With the next inhale, rise. Exhale, fold all the way in. Inhale to lift halfway again, finding a little bit more length, squaring through the hips. Exhale, release the left arm as well and fold. Be here for a moment. Transitioning to the left leg. Soften the knees, shift your weight onto the left foot. Inhale, lift halfway as you roll your right inner thigh toward the sky. Keep the thigh lifted. Exhale, softly fold. Inhale again, lifting the spine. On exhale, let's bend both knees. Inhale, rise. And exhale, find Garudasana. Right thigh on top, left arm on top. Wrap yourself up to the best of your ability. And settle in. Inhale, set the foot down, sweep the arms up. Exhale, Tadasana. Abhyasa and vairagya. Inhale, sweep the arms forward to come up. Exhale, fold. Inhale to lift halfway. Exhale, step to plank. Inhale, hinge forward. Exhale, lower. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, release. Inhale, hands and knees. Exhale, child's pose. Linger in child's pose for a few breaths. Leaning more into the surrender side than the effort side. And see if that helps to preserve a peacefully, inwardly flowing mind. Inhale to Virasana, hero pose. Exhale, settle in. From here, shift your hips off to the left. Inhale to get just a little bit taller. Exhale, rotate the rib cage to the left, finding a little twist. Stay with the breath. With the next inhale, bring the chin forward. Exhale, just bow the chin slightly. Looking straight ahead again. Gently release the twist. Come back to Virasana. Taking that to the other side. Shifting your hips off to the right. Inhale, get a little bit taller. Exhale, rotate the spine to the right. Place the hands wherever they're helpful to support the twist. And then use the breath to continue to explore what's available. Inhale and bring the chin toward the left shoulder. Exhale, bow the chin slightly. Inhale, look straight ahead. Exhale, release the twist. Inhale back to rest. Let's take a symmetrical forward fold. Bring the legs out in front of you. You can place a bolster underneath your knees if your hamstrings or your lower back are a little on the tight side. If you want to just give yourself a bit of ease or release. When you're ready, take another inhale to find a bit more space in the spine. And exhale, hinge forward into your fold. Inhale, again, find a little bit more length, a bit more space. Exhale, soften more deeply into the fold. And continue exploring in that way for 4 or 5 more breaths. Can you reprioritize your peaceful, inwardly flowing mind and the surrender of anything which makes that mind more difficult to sustain than it needs to be? One more breath. Inhale, rise back up to a seated position. Exhale, soften here. Enjoy another breath or two. And then let's bend the knees, scooch toward the top of the mat, getting ready to lie down. Inhale, find a little bit more lift and length through the spine. And exhale, roll yourself down. Keep the knees bent, draw the heels a little bit closer to your seat. Give yourself a moment to acclimate. Dynamic bridge. Inhale, lift the pelvis, sweep the arms overhead. Exhale, roll back down. Two more times. And again, just rest, adjust. Let the arms come out to the sides and bring your feet a little wider apart. So this version of the windshield wipers, where we're focusing on internal rotation specifically. Inhale with both knees up. Exhale, lower your left knee toward your right foot or ankle. Inhale, lift the left knee. Exhale, lower your right knee toward your left foot or ankle. Inhale, lift the knee. Exhale, and again, lower the left. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower the right. Once more to each side. And then again, inhale, lift both knees. Exhale, lower the left. And this time we're going to maintain the posture for a few breaths. Maybe your right knee can roll in toward the midline as well, trying to level off through the sacrum. Breathe here in the interest of surrendering resistance. Inhale, lift out of it. Exhale, stay neutral. Inhale, preparing to lower the right knee. And exhale, let it lower. See if your left knee can also flop in toward the midline. 3 or 4 breaths, surrendering resistance. Inhale, bring the knees back up. Exhale, relax in neutral. And then hug your thighs in towards your belly. Any simple, gentle movement here that you find helpful at the moment, or stillness. Guide yourself through a final spinal twist. And once again, back to Apanasana. 3 or 4 breaths. Release any tension in your jaw and let the lower jaw begin to melt a bit more heavily toward the floor. Soften across the forehead and eyebrows. Relax the muscles around the eyes and feel the eyeballs themselves drop a bit more deeply into the skull. When you're ready, unravel into Shavasana. Make sure that you're going to be warm enough and cozy enough. It's not a super long Shavasana, but we do want it to be as restful as it can possibly be. Bringing the orientation of abhyasa and vairagya. Even here in Shavasana, that peacefully, inwardly flowing mind. Strengthened and sustained through trustful surrender, letting go of anything, everything that makes that peaceful mind more difficult to maintain. Notice any externalizing sensations in the muscles of the face. Notice and let them go. Any unnecessary tension in the neck and the throat. Let it go. Anything that you're holding on to through the collarbones and shoulders. Surrender. Similarly with the arms Soften. Soften the hands. Soften across the chest. Through both the front and the back space of the heart. Soften through the belly, through the abdomen. Through the pelvis and the hips. Release any tension or holding in the legs. And similarly, surrender down and out through the soles of the feet. Anything that remains in the space of the body or the field of the mind that might be pulling awareness outward. Let it go. Relinquish attachment. Trusting that you'll be okay. Surrender. Tuning back into that peaceful, inwardly flowing stream of awareness, internalizing the body and the mind. Continue to nurture that inward stream. As you return to the breath and the body just enough to transition over the next minute or so through a fetal position to an upright seat. In your seat, wrap your arms low and loose around the belly and rest the weight of the elbows and forearms on the diaphragm. Breathe into that resistance about 10 times. A little less effort. Release the arms. Bring awareness to the nostrils and feel as the breath flows upward and inward, peacefully toward Agya Chakra. With exhale, feel the physical component of the breath release back down and out through the nostrils. Prana, meanwhile, continues to flow up and in. Continue in this way. Shift awareness now fully to Agya Chakra. And continue to follow the flow of awareness as it journeys infinitely inward. The ardent effort to maintain a peaceful, inwardly flowing stream of awareness. And the resolve to release, to surrender that which makes this more difficult than it needs to be. Continuing to follow this flow of awareness in and in and in and in. Begin to deepen the breath again. Reorient to the senses. consciously choosing to shift awareness back to the external world while remaining eternally tethered to the internal. Bring the hands together at the heart. Feel free to bow the head. Rub the palms. Place the palms over the eyes or anywhere else you'd like for another breath or two. Let the eyes blink open and come back to the outside world. All right. I'll let you go. If you want any sort of journal prompt, just notice what attachments you might have to the external world or to how you like to practice asana that might pull you out of that peaceful, inwardly flowing stream of awareness. Just notice. Okay. I will go bake bread now. See you soon.